today I'm going to be making a Halloween themed project. It's going to be a little wall hanging, and I'm using some of the Idea-ology products, some of this year's Halloween ones. I've got the worn papers here and the Halloween quote chips, as well as the paper dolls, the ancestors. I'm also using some of the baseboard frames as well. These are just from the Everyday Idea-ology range, but they're perfect for creating the front of like a shadow box. And I've pulled out a couple of things. I want to use these witches. I've got the quote chip here I've chosen. This is the frame I've chosen, and the wallpaper. And I want to create almost like a little shadow box. So I've taken this frame as a template and cut out a piece of, this is really sturdy grey board. You can use mount board or foam board, a couple of layers of cereal box card, something like that. But I just drew round it and cut it to size with a craft knife and just rounded the corners off so they didn't show around the edges here. And I'm going to be creating a scene with a moon. And this is a stamp. It's a Lavinia stamp of a moon, and I've just stamped it onto some tracing paper using StazOn ink. You could probably get away with other types of ink, but tracing paper, this is quite a smooth surface, this one. So StazOn's always good for anything that's quite a slick surface. The reason I want to have a moon in this is I want to have some lighting in the back, and I have this little battery operated string of LEDs, and I'm going to I want these to be behind the moon so that it lights up. So to begin the construction, I need to make a hole in the baseboard so that the light can be fixed behind it and shine through here. So I've decided whereabouts I'm going to want my moon to be, and I decided that the positioning was going to be around about there. And I've drawn faintly, just with a pencil, onto my grey board because I need to cut out a circle. Once I've done that, I'll stick my wallpaper down on here and flip it over and cut through from the back. But first of all, I want to cut through this with a craft knife, so I'll be right back as soon as I've done that. So I've cut my circle in the baseboard. I've trimmed my wallpaper to fit this. I just put it down on it, drew round it and cut it out. And I've drawn through that circle with a pencil so that I know where to cut that out. And then once I've got that cut out, we can layer this piece of tracing paper in the middle and we'll be able to shine the light through it. So I just need to cut this circle out and we can get on with assembling this back piece. I've cut the circle out of my wallpaper, and I just want to add a little black distress ink around the cut edge. This paper has a naturally distressed effect to it around the edges, and I just want to sort of blend that in by darkening this cut circle. It'll also help disguise any white edges that might be showing and kind of blend in with the edge of the stamped moon. So just going round lightly with the foam applicator and adding a little ink there. So now we need to stick our piece of tracing paper in place. I just need to trim it down so that it doesn't extend beyond the edge of this baseboard. So I'm just going to go in with my scissors and just trim the excess off. And that'll be absolutely fine. I'm going to hold that in place with a little double-sided tape. So I'm just going to flip it over and just pop some tape onto the back. This of course is going to be hidden. can actually trim that little bit back there some more. We don't need that. and stick that in place onto this baseboard. And just line that up over that cut aperture and stick in place. Next we're going to stick our wallpaper on, and again I'm going to use some double-sided tape for this. You could use glue for this, I suppose, now, but tape will be strong enough. It's going all the way around the edge. I'm just going to put an extra bit just there, close round to that aperture, just so that it doesn't lift up. And again, peel off the backing and we can stick that in place. And once again, just line this up. And stick it down. And that's the back, that's the actual base pretty much completed now. Now I want there to be some depth to this, so I'm going to build up the sides with a couple of layers of this grey board. I'm just going to cut some strips and put them around the edge. So I just need to go and trim those with a knife, and I'll be right back. So I've cut some strips of grey board and I've glued 2 strips together so that they're about sort of 6mm thick. And once again, I used the frame as a template and cut 2 long pieces that would fit down the side, and then some shorter pieces that will fit in there. And it'll just enough really to raise it up off the background and give it a little bit of extra dimension. I'm going to go around the edge with some black ink just to sort of tie it in to make it less noticeable. But I've also found some of this like a webbing fabric in the Halloween section at a local shop. And I was thinking about popping some behind the frame and cutting it so that it's sort of just in the corners like a spider's web. So I'm going to do that first, obviously, because I want that to be attached directly to this frame, and then I can glue these little spacers on top of that once I've inked them up. So I'll just go and grab some tape and we'll get this stuck down and trimmed. So I've put some double-sided tape on the back of this frame and just stuck this webbing in place. I've also just edged these little spacers with some black distress ink, which is probably going to get all over my fingers. With hindsight, possibly better to use a marker pen or some black gesso, but distress ink was what we had to hand. And I'm just going to snip away at some of this, just so that it looks like spider's webs left in the corner. I don't really want the whole thing to be covered. So I'm just going to cut away little bits of this and hopefully leave a fairly natural looking web effect around the edge. So let's just see how that's going to look once it's in place. And I think that's quite nice. I want there to be a gap, but I think that frames it quite nicely. So just need to trim this little bit off here that's just showing slightly over the edge. And now I can fix my little spacers in place. And although this tape is still sticky here, I'm going to use some glue. I need this to be quite a strong bond, obviously, as I don't think the tape will stick too well to this cardboard. So just using my glue, this is the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue that you'll have seen me use before. It comes in a large bottle and I buy these ultra fine tip glue applicator bottles, and I put it in there. And I'm just going to press that down in place. And continue and put all the others in. And I want to make sure that the glue is dry before I move on to the next step. Now that these are glued in place, and I have to say the Cosmic Shimmer glue was taking ages, so I've added some glue with my hot glue gun, and that's actually got it a much firmer attachment. So yeah, if you've got one of those, go with that. I just hadn't got the patience to sit and wait, I think, for the Cosmic Shimmer glue to dry. But now that those are in place, I want to go around the edge of this board with my black distress ink just to tie it in with everything else. And just a sort of quick brush round with the foam applicator. And the same with this, I want to go around the edge of the baseboard and just take it in over the edge of the wallpaper, because we're going to see a little bit of it at the edge by where the spacers are, and having it black will just tie it all in nicely, I think. So now that we've done that, when they go together, it's going to be a lot more sort of disguised around the edge now that it's all black. And that will be the next thing to do, to glue this front piece onto the back piece. And I'm going to do it with my glue gun again. I've got my glue gun still plugged in here. So just going to run a bead of glue around these spacers, trying to avoid my fingers. And stick it down in place. So next we're going to put these on the front. I want the witches to be here, and for this I don't need the hot glue gun. I can use the Cosmic Shimmer glue for these. There's no real weight or bulk here, and it's two flat surfaces. So I know that her elbow is going to be over the frame, and I know that the skirts are. So just applying a little glue. Any that oozes out can be just wiped away. And it does dry clear anyway, so you won't see it. So they're in place. I'm going to put the quote chip on again. This glue will be fine for that. And now we need a way to attach the light behind. And I'm going to basically make a little platform for this to stand on, and it'll just sit at the back on a little piece of card. So I just need to cut that to size, and I'll be right back and we can put that in place. So I've cut another piece of grey board, 12 centimetres by 8 centimetres, and halfway along I've just scored it with my knife. Haven't gone all the way through, just scored it so I can crease it. I've also just rounded a couple of edges off just to make it look pretty. And this is going to be attached to the back, basically as a little stand and somewhere to pop the candle. So just going to put a generous amount of glue on it because we don't want this to come off, and then just lining that up so that that score line is at the bottom, and pressing down. Just give that a moment to cool down, and then that will hold our little frame up, and we'll have somewhere to pop the battery at the back. So the other thing that I want to do, I mean, these little LED lights are on a wire which kind of stay put where you want them, but I am just going to put a bit of tape just to hold them against the back of this. So I'm just going to unwind them slightly so that I can arrange them behind this moon. And this might just take me a moment or two just to get it how I want it. And as soon as I've got them in the position, I'll take them in place with a little bit of washi tape and pop my battery pack on here. So I've attached my base, and I've actually glued in I've used some of the offcuts of the strips of grey board that I'd cut just to stop this little battery pack from flapping about too much. Actually, it just holds it in there, and I thought, well, why not? Otherwise it was having a tendency to wobble about all over the place. I've attached my lights how I want them with a bit of washi tape. If you want to tidy up the back, if you're not happy with this, just cut a little piece of black cord to fit and put in place with some double-sided tape. And that'll just hide any of that mess. It's at the back, so, you know, nobody's going to see it, but I know sometimes we don't like the fact that it looks untidy on the back as well. So there we go, disguised in the back. So now what I can do is turn my light on, and when I look from the front, I've got my moon all lit up and looking quite spooky and creepy. I really love how this turned out, using just a few commercial products that are on the market. The little lights, they were from a craft shop in the Christmas section. I picked them up last year. This mesh, easy to find something very similar at this time of year, especially with the Halloween products in the shops at the moment. So if you enjoyed this video, as always, please leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Please feel free to leave some comments below. This could be easily adapted to suit other things. You know, it could be a Christmas project, it could be just an everyday project. There's lots of different ways that we could decorate this. You know, it's October, so Halloween is on my mind at the moment, and I wanted to use some of these new products that I've just received. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.